Okay.
Just a second. Yes, the live is starting right now, but just, let's wait for some people to show up to hang with us. Um, because I want to introduce you and I want, okay. So someone just joined.
You can see all that, huh? I don't see it. Yeah.
Yes, yes, I can see it. I can see that one person is watching. Andreas Schmidt.
Oh my
Yes,
God, Berlin. He's in Berlin.
yes. Well,
Wonderful.
you'll have people from all over the world
Oh, oh yeah.
because it's easy. We're on Facebook, so it's going to be really easy.
Oh, that's nice. He's wonderful piano player. Presents music. Oh, you'll love him when you meet him eventually.
Oh, I hope I will. Well, meanwhile, I'm going to ask Andreas to give us a feedback. Do you see us properly and are the voices clear? Because he can reply. He just wrote, "Yeah, we're here. Hi, dear Jay."
Oh,
Hermano
hi.
Principe is also
You're the
online.
best.
Ciao, hermano. We're waiting for just a few more people to show up and then we're going to start. Okay, thank you, Andreas, for your feedback. Sounds fine. Okay,
How cool
so,
is yeah.
so even though Jay Clayton doesn't need an introduction, I will introduce her. Jay Clayton is an internationally acclaimed vocalist, composer, and educator whose work boldly spans the terrain between jazz and new music. She's an awesome educator. We had the honor of having her um, master classes here in Milano, and there's Abe Goldstein. Everything working fine in Iowa, and the Hermano Principe. Hello, Jay. So
Oh
I'm
my
reading a few
God.
of the comments.
Hi. Wow. Have
Yeah.
another wonderfully presents me. Oh, I miss everybody already. Okay.
Okay, Jay. So now, the first thing I'm going to ask you, because we're going to chat a little bit, um, is how did it all start?
Yeah.
Could you talk about your childhood? What it was like when you were a child? How did you, um, what
Listen,
was music?
we're going to be on this for about 10 hours. No, but I just wanted to
Okay.
I just wanted to tell everybody, and I appreciate you, Ava, for your interest. That I don't know when a couple of years ago, whenever it was, Ava wanted to introduce, have interview for a while, several years I would come. So finally, one day we were in someone's apartment and we sat down and she said, "Is this a good time?" And I said, "Sure." I was in a comfortable chair and she said, "How did it all start?" Just like today. And I talked for 1 hour straight. Now, I mean, it's hard for us to talk about ourselves. You're not always in the mood. But for some reason, I talked for an hour straight. And this Ava transcribed everything. So you can find
And
it on my.
translated it.
You
I also
translated it back
translated
to
it.
Italian and everything. I mean, she never took anything out of it. It's on my website if anybody's interested. If you get bored someday, and we have plenty of time now,
Yeah.
it's so I'm not going to do that right now, but I was, I can tell you a few things, but what I wanted to share is that it's interesting to have an interview now because for years I've been trying to do a retrospect. I mean, it's like 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Here we go, and I keep trying to put things in piles, from that and photos and anyway, so things. There's a lot, and it's under my table here, and I can't seem to finish it. Please, somebody help me. Not sure why I'm doing it, but it gives you a I don't know, it just gives you a little perspective of your life. So when I was going to do this interview, which my first performance in 2.5 months of being, in the house, I did, I had to think about some stuff, but I'll answer as best I can. I'm not going to talk for an hour straight about myself, but
I
I could.
think you I think you may. People are here to listen
I
to what you
know.
have to say.
I try. Well, it's
And
interesting.
by the way, Jay, sorry I
Yes,
interrupt you,
that's
but
all right.
Jerry Granelli says hi to Jay by Andreas Schmidt.
Oh
He
my.
just wrote, Jerry Granelli says hi to Jay. Okay, I just wanted to tell you.
Well,
Now you can go
truthfully,
on.
yes, what I was going to say is I'd be happy to talk about my childhood, but what I thought I'd do is work backwards a little bit. And speaking
Please
of
do.
Granelli, you know what I'm saying about what's happening now. And my dilemma, which it's not a dilemma, it can't be a dilemma anymore, is that I have many projects and I feel like I'm a collaborator and I love that. So just working backwards. So even though I don't know that there's many people in the world that have actually heard my CDs, I have lots of them and they're with wonderful people. And well, my latest is a almost latest is my duo with Granelli. Speaking of which, if he's there, oh God, I'm so excited. Wish you were here, Jer. And it's called Alone Together on Sunnyside, and it's just drums and voice. And I'm just very happy with it. We've been playing together forever. And I guess it's over 20 years that the first one, I always say 20, it's probably 30. Our first CD came out. But just to say that, I'm just going to keep documenting things. So I hope people enjoy that. That's out. And soon to be released will be a trio CD with Ed Neumeister trombone and Fritz Power on piano. And this was recorded quite a while back, but we wanted it out. Fritz Power left us a couple of years ago. And so Ed and I decided to go on and do trio. We'll just have different piano players each time, So just wanted to start with that. But anyway, just to answer your first question, um, I always had music in my life. I wish I don't know, think I ever saw. I have a half-hour documentary, and no one, hardly anybody's seen that. When I moved to Seattle in '82, there was a one wonderful woman there who made this documentary. Ava, remind me. I'll try to figure out how to get it to you. I only thought of it because
Okay.
I only thought of it because I haven't seen it in a while, but I remember there were some photos, and one of the photos is me I think it was with like a triple trio. In other words,
Oh,
I sang around the house. My mother was a singer. She knew, but she never got to really do her thing. I think she had maybe a couple of professional gigs, but she sang what was popular music then, but it was all the standards. So a lot of standards that I do, uh, I didn't have to learn them. I just knew them. I didn't know. And I listened to a lot of Frank Sinatra, and so all those standards were already in me. But I sang. I didn't know I was going to be a singer, but I was, of course, an a cappella choir and the triple trio. And I just, but anyway, I will tell one. I don't know if this is in that interview, but I remember the first time I ever sat in. I remember it like it was yesterday. I had the nerve to do it. And it was probably in 1959 because it was before I went to college. So I know I was probably a senior in high school. And somehow in the late 50s I was on the cusp of when rock and roll came in. But when you went to a dance, just a social dance, they were playing standards still.
yeah.
And so I remember being at this dance. I don't know why. I wish I could remember more, but I said, "Can I sit in?" How did I know what sitting in was? No idea.
Wow.
I and
But that's why you remember it, Jay,
yeah, there's
because
there's certain,
it was such a big thing. It stayed with you for your whole life.
I'm telling you. I said, it probably was the first time I sang on a microphone, um, and I sang "Moonlight in Vermont." I remember it was "Moonlight in Vermont," and I told them I'd come back in on the bridge. I knew what a bridge was. Don't ask why. Don't. My mother probably didn't. I mean, Anyway, I do remember that, and just to say, everybody, there's a book in that, and I wish I'm not going to write it. It's hard to write a book. I already did one, but about everyone's. Oh, I have two. Two is what is your first instrument? Why do you play your instrument? And the other book would be what was your first, actual performing of jazz or whatever your music is. So I remember that. Anyway, then I went away to college, and I try not to talk too fast because there really is a lot. But what I'm saying, what I wanted, my philosophy about this whole thing in retrospect, what I tell my students is, you just go from one thing to the other, following what you love. You don't try to figure out what's going to happen in the future, whatever. Just stay with, what do you love? What do you want to do? And one thing leads to another, and then little things come up that seem like coincidences, but they're not. And so I thought maybe I could tell some of those things that seem like coincidences. So I went away to college, and nobody did college then. I didn't even know what college was. I really didn't, because nobody went to college, but people came to our school and represented. And I knew if I did go to college, it would have to be in Ohio, was because if you went to a state school, it was very cheap, nothing, because my parents didn't have money. So somebody came from Miami University, and a friend of mine, we said, oh, let's do that. Like, let's go to college. It was a nice way to leave home. Let's apply. So we applied, again, not knowing really what it was. And we got in, but she didn't go. She finked out, but I did. And I'm saying it like that because little girl from Ohio, I mean, I had to tell my parents that I was going to go away to school. I'd never been away for anything, away to school. And by myself. I didn't know one person, only to say, again, there was a reason. And I went there. That's when I changed my name. I'm Judy. My name is Judy. And I just decided, I like to change myself. Because
Yes.
you can't change yourself. But when I thought, I'm to this and I'm to that. Anyway, that's when I changed my name, because I didn't know a soul. But the coincidence was, there was a jazz musician on campus who'd already been in the service. He really knew jazz. Why was at that school? He was a trombonist, John Watson. He's from Chicago. He left us also, but he and I anyway, just to make a long story short, a short story long. What was I going to study? First of all, they ask you, what are you going to major in? Okay, what's that? What is a major? And it didn't occur to me to major in music. I love that. And then so I was in elementary education. You put you in elementary education because they think you're going to get married anyway. Not going to fit as a woman, as a young girl. You're not going to finish. And so the first semester I was in, which is fine. I love teaching. I thought, how can you teach someone to teach? And I still ask that question. But that's what was going to be my major. But then and I would sing around the dorm, like Green Dolphin Street, I would be doing the laundry. I don't know. I was compelled. So my roommate was a classical vocal major. And she said, you ought to major in music. And I had taken theory because I took piano as a child. I never studied or anything, but I knew my scales and my intervals. And that's how. So anyway, again, I became a music major. I thought, wow, you mean you can grade you in that? That's fantastic. And so again, she said, my roommate, she knew I loved jazz. I was singing classical music. It wasn't where I lived. I mean, I was always nervous about it, but I learned a lot. But she said, you should sing for John Watson. He's a trombonist, jazz trombonist. She said, he'll tell you if you can sing or not. That's the way she put it. So sure enough, I did. And I went there, and he played a little piano. I think I did, Nearness of You or whatever. And anyway, so for the rest of my college time, I sang on the weekends with his band. So what better and he knew other people like there was a classical bassist who played jazz piano, and they played the records for me. I truthfully didn't know who Mingus was. I really didn't even know who Monk was, I don't think. I remember hearing for the first time Ornette they played it for me. So there's the education right there, you know. So anyway, fast forward, I stayed there, and consequently, on one of our vacations, we went to New York, and of course, everybody was playing, and I knew that's where I had to go. But again, it wasn't because I knew I was going to be a jazz singer. I mean, I was singing jazz. It took me a while to tell anybody I was a jazz. I mean, big deal, you know. But then again, so you see, one thing leads to another.
Yes.
And now I'm in New York. I mean, New York City, me, I never even left home before, you know. But again, what I get back to is I was there to hear the music. So you have to do what you got to do, you know. And I found somebody who had gone to my college, and there was three of us in a one bedroom, you know, in New York City, and that was my first apartment. And anyway, just to go on and on, all I'm saying, it was situation after situation that was right for me, because I went to hear everybody, Monk, Mingus, you name
Yeah.
him.
Life took care of
Right,
itself, right?
right. You know, it was like going to a candy store. Oh my God, there they were. You know, Eric Dolphy, you name them. I heard them all. I don't know, even Sonny Rollins. You know, Monk was every week. Anyway, and I hesitate to go on and on because there is a lot, but it's written in different interviews and stuff. But
Yes.
my point is, that's was my school, listening to these guys play. You know, not
Well, this was all in the interview I, you
right. I
know,
know that whole
we
truth.
did together, but you never told me that you changed your name. So this is new to me today.
Yeah, I
This
was
is
a
new.
see you. No, yeah, because in the 40s there were a lot of Judys, because everybody
Okay.
named everybody a date with Judy, Judy Holiday, you know, Punch and Judy. Everything was, and I could be in a class to be two other Judys. So I don't know. I just, you can call me Judy now. I'm okay. Or
I
well,
love
really,
Jay and I'm used to Jay. I don't know if I could
I know
change
you
it.
can't change somebody when you're used to calling him that. My real name is Judith, but you know, in Ohio, nobody would call me that. It was too hoity-toity, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, Judy.
Now people are. Now people are. You know. Anyway, you know, I probably should write some time about New York in the 60s and 70s. That's really how I grew up. And then finally in the 80s, when I moved to Seattle to teach at Cornish College, new collaborations came up, but I'd already gotten my stuff, I think, in the 60s and 70s. 63 is when I moved to New York. And, uh, and I was there till 1982, when I got invited to teach at Cornish College, and where I met, you know, the fantastic Grinelli, who's Jerry Grinelli. And, uh, and again, what a coincidence to meet somebody who becomes a music partner. It was, I mean, I tell that story. I hope I told you that story. We
Yes,
had
you
never
did.
met. We never met. You know, we're just sitting there at a faculty meeting or something, and he's like, "You want to do a concert?" We never played live, nothing, you know. And I said, well, sure. And he said, yeah, just you and me and Colin Walcott, the fantastic percussionist of Oregon that left us also not long after that, in a planetarium, you know, under the stars, you know, free. You know, we had one. And again, coincidence? I don't think so. And he's a link in my life, you know. It's like that's it. So things like that kept happening to me, you know. Julian Priester was out there at the time, Gary Peacock. I mean, whoa, you know. And again, why I went there, but that was before I moved to Seattle, right? I met, no, I'm sorry, it wasn't in Cornish. It was at a Naropa Institute in Boulder, Colorado. A whole wonderful scene there with all the group Oregon. They were the main faculty, and they're the ones that invited me. And it was a lot of freedom in the classes, dance, movement, everything, you know. But again,
Wonderful.
so that was there's a link. And then it was Grinelli that recommended me, because he was starting to go to Seattle and do, you know, teach. for a few weeks at a time. And then he moved there. And then they invited me. I mean, it's like this. And I had
Yes.
already been in New York 20 years when I moved out there. So I had a lot of collaborations. And just to make the long story short, after 20 years out there, I moved back. I had a, epiphany. I was like, no, I wanted to
Yeah.
be in New York. It's closer to Europe. And I had a lot of collaborations here. I love New
Yes.
York. I'm a converted New Yorker, although at this moment I'm in New Paltz. I'm in the country. Thank God during all of this,
Yes. It's
so.
much better to be in the country during this pandemic.
Oh, I mean, I don't see so many people, and gratefully, my daughter's here with me. Gratefully for me, she's doing a
Yeah,
lot of,
you
you
have company.
know.
Well, I just
Well, I
interrupt
mean,
you to
yeah.
say that Stefania Carinzi and Judy Reichler and Severino Giuffredi are saying hello.
Oh, hello to everyone. Oh my
Yes,
God.
I keep receiving, comments, but if we don't reply, it's because we're not directly on Facebook. We are on a platform, so it's sort of a bit difficult to reply. But maybe further on during your interview, if somebody has something to ask you,
Yes,
should I?
I mean, I don't have a plan. I just, like I say,
No,
I just,
we're talking very freely and casually. It's
yeah,
very
I mean,
nice.
and it's nice to know who's out there. But I mean, Judy Reichler is a friend of mine. I've known forever because we had a play group in the 70s in Soho, which wasn't Soho, at the time, and so it's like there's another thing. What? So I moved to New Paltz, and she's living here. I connect. I like connections with people. It's just it's just the way I am. I don't know where. I actually don't know where I got that. Because my father was very quiet. My mother wasn't so quiet, but she didn't have, a lot of friends and stuff. So I don't know. But I just think I love people. And all significant. You know. So
Yes.
here I am talking about myself. Oh my goodness. But, you know, I like to hear about other artists, I love asking questions. I remember when one time we were all teaching at Cornish, it was Peacock. I just in a parentheses, Julian and me and Granelli and Priester and Peacock had a band called Quartet. The CD is called No Secrets. If anybody wants to Google it, it's called No Secrets. It was a cordless band. And all I'm saying is about interviews is, for some reason, I forget who it was, Jerry, maybe I um, they got a grant for us, the four of us as the faculty, to do a master class. We were already teaching in the, I think that, and other universities should pay attention to that, because sometimes when you're teaching in a university, everybody doesn't get everybody. I mean, maybe you have
Yeah.
maybe a class. Do you know what I'm saying? They don't
Yeah,
really.
true. That's very true.
Even when I did, of course, I taught Princeton a couple of years for a while. I mean, and again, we didn't see each other that much. And of course, Peabody, what a wonderful situation down there. And we did at first, and we did play some with Gary Thomas and Mike Formanak and oh God, I'm going to forget everybody. Doesn't matter, but it was great. That was small, but some of the big ones. So anyway, my point is, we were on a master class, and so we're sitting up there answering questions, finding out stuff about each other that we never knew. And we've been playing together, and we knew a lot about, each other, and mostly the music part of it. But well, isn't that far out? I mean, and so I do recommend that college
Yes.
have a certain faculty, to have master classes with you know, with the faculty. It's
Yeah.
not just for the students. We were finding out stuff about each other, which I find fascinating because it's always
It's for
connected.
everybody because
Yeah,
it's for everybody because there is such a growth, and a connection. And when people get connected, wonderful things may happen,
yeah. No, it
right?
does, and right, and knowing me, I just start a band. I mean, I have so many, and just be. I mean, we there's other stuff. I mean, you can ask me questions or anybody can, but I just wanted to say that during this time, with all this time that we all have, one of the thing the things, many things come up, but it's like, personally, I've been craving this. Not that this happened in the world, but I kept saying I'd love to have a lot of time up in New Paltz because I have all these projects. But it's a little different under these circumstances.
Yes.
And can't perform, But the point is, you think, you start prioritizing.
Yes.
I know everybody's doing this, whether you're an artist or not. I think especially artists. And of course, somebody like me and you and I go, okay, this is my good time. What is it? Listen to this. And this is my last offer. I always say that, but I have no last offers. Of course, I have the Sound Songs with Granelli. We call it Sound Songs, and the new CD is Duo. The next new CD that's going to come out is going to be Three for the Road with Ed Neumeister and Fritz Power, right? I also have another one that we don't know what this pandemic, but Judy Niemak and I just recorded it. Do you know
Wow.
Judy? You didn't know that. We recorded,
No.
We call it Voices in Flight, and it's in the can. We're working on it now. And again, eventually that'll get out. And we do my music, her music. I think it's really, I'm excited about it. It has Jean-Francois Prince is on half of it, and John DiMartino is on it, and Jay Anderson, wonderful bass player, Jay Anderson, who's my neighbor. He's 4 minutes away. We can't see each other. I'm just saying this just to show how eclectic I am.
Yes.
And of course, once in a while, I do a project with Sheila Jordan, who we're going to be interviewed next week. I don't know if I told you, Eva, Kathy Garcia Siegel. You know Kathy.
Oh, wonderful! Yes, I know Kathy. She was here in Milano, in Italy, and I organized the master classes for her because you gave me her name, her contact.
It's great, and you should know. And I just want to tell people, if you don't know, maybe you already do, but she almost every day she interviews somebody, all instruments, and it's so she decided to have us together.
That's wonderful.
It's next week, Wednesday the 27th, and her starts at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So right after this, she probably has somebody, Now, why did? Oh, and anyway, why did I think of that? I don't.
No,
remember.
She doesn't do interviews on Thursdays.
Right. So that's
the only free day. She does interviews every other day, but never on Thursdays.
I had a feeling, and I was hoping that was true. Because
that is true. Because I follow her as well. She did some very interesting interviews lately.
Yes, and then there's a lot of times it's people I don't know. I mean, actually, there's a lot of people that were out there both places, but it's very interesting, as you know. I mean, you do interviews, so you know what it's like, But anyway, so once in a while, bebop to free bop, we call it. Sheila and I do a project. I say once in a while. She's quite busy for 91, traveling all over the world. It's hard to even find it. But again, it's a collaboration. And it is bebop to free bop, and we cover a lot of ground with that. And then I have a duo with Ken Filiano, bass. Now I never thought I never said Sheila's the one with bass and voice. I mean, but Ken inspired it because he plays in and out, and he uses electronics. So we call it double duo. So there's a lot of free playing. Just telling you. So. And of course, I do my solo with electronics, and I just want. I've had a collaboration with Brenda Buffalino, the tap dancer, wonderful.
The tap dancer.
It's fantastic, and again, it can't happen too often, but it will happen. And if I'm ever on a gig, and she's there, she'll just jump up and tap. Why not?
Yeah.
I don't want to leave anything out because I have too many. My point being, and then for a while, I might go back to this. Maybe you can help me. because I have all these, I thought maybe I'll just, when I am a leader, um, it'll just be called Jay Clayton Project. And for a while, and even when I was in Seattle and Jim Knapp was a part of that, I mean, oh, good, good. See, I can't, I'm talking so much because I don't want to leave anybody. I had the great collaboration out there with people on the faculty, and it was Brad Shepik, Birkin Krause, and Aaron Alexander, who were younger players and later played with us. And Jim Knapp and I were in it. Sextet, fantastic, fantastic. When I say fantastic, what I mean is it's a luxury to play with the same people. You have to collaborate. In other words, there's certain people you play with. It's a luxury, and I mean
because you get to know each other.
Well, yeah, you do.
It becomes so beautiful. Yeah.
You get to know in that band that was a sextet because the same thing that happened with Granelli and I we were, and we lived in Seattle, we just get together and play. Same thing with these people, Jim,
That's
after
great.
I said, oh, come to my studio, let's just play. And then we recorded it. That's a good thing. And same with Ed and Fritz. Oh, let's just play. Oh, let's do a concert. Let's record this, And that's the one thing and I have many recordings, but the one thing I wouldn't change anything. I've had a hard time. Everybody does. You pay dues, but the music part is not hard at all. I again, going back to my getting to New York, I skip around, but I just wanted to see. I left out something. Vocal Summit. A lot of people know me from Vocal Summit with Bobby McFerrin and Ursula Dujak and Norma Winston and Lauren Newton.
That is such a wonderful record. I mean,
there's two of them, but nobody knows that either. And we only performed in the state once, so maybe that will live someday. But I can't. What can you do? Maybe that'll have a life again. Why not? We're old, but we're not old. God, it's so great. Yeah.
May I read some of the things people are writing to you?
Sure, because I got to quit talking. I talk too much.
No, you're doing the right thing. I try not to interrupt you, but Claudio Ottaviano, he's a wonderful bass player. I know him very well, and he's writing. Jay is one of my favorite singers of all time. My favorite album of hers is the one with Fred Hirsch in duo. And then he writes something else, talking about electronics. The Piece of the Wild Things is another masterpiece of hers. And then Andrea Schmidt is asking a question.
Yes.
So he says, I never asked that. Did Ornette hear you sing Lonely Woman? And who wrote the bridge? Because it's not Ornette, I guess.
No, I know. And I actually think he did. I did have a cross paths with Ornette, and as Andreas knows, he's a big influence of mine. I would go hear him. I played in his loft, and I have these photos, but they're very tiny. I did a concert once in St. Mark's Church years ago. They would have, and there were a lot of free concerts. I'm almost positive he was there, and I might have done Lonely Woman. But years later, I heard that he wanted voices on a new CD, and I'm like, whoa, okay, Ornette Coleman. He didn't live far from me. He was in Soho. So my ex-husband played drums and bass, so he took his bass. We went up. We're going to play like a little audition for Ornette. Fast forward, turns out what he did on that CD was very classical sing. Was more choir kind of stuff. Yeah. But I went up there and we just played, bass and work, and he said, God, I wish I could remember his words. He was saying things. He said, you're not singing, you're channeling. I think he used the word, he was trying to describe what the heck I was doing,
Yes. So he said you were channeling.
Well, there was something, because there I went, wordless. I mean, it was Gene Lee and I at that time were one of the few people that, that it wasn't just, it was more free. I think we played more
Yeah.
free. I can't remember, but he was just he was just so wonderful. I never really hung too much, but again, later he had a loft and I was here's another Unity. You've got to know about Unity was one of the first instrumental bands that I worked with. And they were based in D.C. or Baltimore, and Byron Morris. He, oh, see, here's another story. I don't know if I told you this. Probably I did. My husband at the time played with them, so they used to rehearse at my loft. And it's the usual. Oh yeah, my wife sings. Oh yeah, right. I mean, I did. It wasn't my rehearsal. It was his project. But then he said to them, "Yeah, my wife sings." So
Oh,
I sat in with them, and next thing I was in the band, and it was really wonderful. So I'll tell you about it sometimes because there are CDs of Unity, and I don't know. I've lost my train of thought about why I thought about that, except that no, it was probably Unity that we played in Ornette's loft, a concert in Ornette's loft. And then there are two. I'll just have two short Ornettes. So of course I always wanted to actually see if I had any rapport with. I never got to really play with him, but one time I went to hear him in Seattle at this huge place, and I went backstage shyly. I had to go backstage shyly, and he just knew me. Hi, Jay. Here's what he said. Jesus. Oh, Jay, if I'd have known you were out there, I'd have asked you to come up.
to come up. Wow.
I thought he didn't know, but to me, I'm just saying that was so, how cool is that?
It's very
and,
cool. It's very
and
cool,
then
Jay.
the last time I think I saw him, because Sheila and I were together, I think we went to Max Roach's funeral,
Yeah.
and I happened to sit next to Ornette, and I, like a little kid, and I'll do this still I love all these fantastic artists, Ornette, I said, I always just wanted I was almost in tears. Just wanted, like a little kid, I just wanted to tell you how much your music meant to me. I just want to have to say that out loud. I'm just so influenced by it. And he took a little piece of paper and he wrote his name and address on it. He said, if you ever need anything, Jay. And he gave me this little, but I think, and I guess people out there would know this, probably the instrumentalists especially. I think people used to just drop it over at his loft and he would play. I mean, he was just like that. But wow, isn't that cool? I mean, how,
It is.
so there are
It
people,
is.
whenever I get down about, anything about career or all that stuff, and, what about me? We all do that bullshit. But I think, wow, what a lucky, because I have a lot of fantastic artists in my life who enjoy
Yes.
working with me and who and I think they're true collaborations. I should use that word in my next something, whatever, if it's a band, because that's what it is. It's like my goal was always to, it took many years, when I was in that band in college, and I tell my students this too, one step at a time. I sang 3 tunes in the set. You know what I mean? It was like
Yeah.
instrument, and then you come up and sing 3 tunes, and I would be sitting off to the side most of it, and after a while that got old, okay, because I hear so many things, but truthfully, when I was sitting off to the side, I was learning a lot.
Of course.
All the tunes I was listening to them. I did not scat in college, to my
Yeah.
knowledge, even though, no, I wasn't, but I heard it. I was scared, but I don't, I'm trying to remember, when I first started, but probably because in the 60s, okay, here's another, and this is a short story. Because again, I was lucky because people think of, wow, she's so out. And then they go, oh, she's singing a standard, I never stopped singing the standards ever, and I never will.
Yeah.
I hope that it's more integrated what I do now. But I was so lucky to be in New York in the 60s when the instrumentalists were getting together and playing free. And Gene Lee we would sit there. I didn't know what they were doing. It was so important for me. And I try to get that into my teaching now. Because singing free, that means composing on the spot, And We had no iPhones then.
Yeah.
It's not documented. I would like to. I mean, I doubt it. Well, I don't know. I have to ask some. I had a Waldensack was the first recorder I had, and but to me that was like that's the learning what you listen to. So if I was
Yeah.
sitting off to the side, man, I learned a lot of tunes that way. I heard a lot of improv, and then later my goal was to be part of the band. I have a function. I'm a singer. I love the lyrics and everything, but I want and in my any band I'm a part of, everybody is to be themselves. And again, doesn't mean you don't you don't comp. We have our functions, but the main thing is you choose a repertoire where everybody just does their thing. You don't even have to talk much. You mentioned Fred Hirsch. A lot of people know me from Beautiful Love. That was my first, and I,
Yes.
Fred, because
So beautiful.
we just decided to do that, and it's like he said, let's just go in the studio. And there was the first record or an early recorded example of that, because we did not, all I did was bring a bunch of tunes and had him choose. I wanted to be, it would be only tunes that we both loved and we really knew nothing about reading, or anything. And we never talked. And we just, to me, that's an example. If that's why I'm so happy with that. It was reissued recently.
May I say something very that has to do with what you just said? When I'm picking my music and the songs I want to sing, we're in Italy here, and musicians, they not all of them speak English, and not all of them understand the lyrics. So you know what I do every time? I just read the lyrics out loud and translate them into Italian because I really want them to know what the song is about.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because they could follow my feeling, but I also want them to know what we're talking about apart from the music.
No,
So, for
that's
you, it's American standards. Everybody understands the lyrics, but some musicians don't understand English, or they just don't think about it. They might know English, but they're not thinking about the lyrics. So every time I do a little wake up call and say, okay, this song talks about this and this, and I'm gonna translate it. So I just wanted to say this
that's true.
little.
I think about that a lot as I travel in Europe for many years. And but see, that's significant. What you said about the feeling is significant. If I hear a singer for the first time, and I I think about, well, what I'm singing, they don't know. If you cannot know the language and get something, that's how and that's how it's going to be. It's nice if you literally know. That helps.
Of
But I
course,
thought, and I'm hoping that's what happens. Of course, more and more
yes.
people do understand English, and of course, when I'm in Italy, I have you to translate. But when I'm teaching, it's interesting teaching, to people in another language. But people who get into jazz, pretty soon, if you have the literal language or not, you start to understand the language of jazz or improvisation music. Then you know you're
There,
there. You
there's
know.
another question for you, Jay. Claudio Ottaviano, now I will have to translate this because he wrote in Italian. So, if could you ask Jay what does she think about her record live at the Jazz Alley? Do you have some story to tell about that record? And just a second, he has a lot of questions. Once Upon a Summertime, which connects to the meaning of the blues, is an absolute work of art. And just a second, it's a bit difficult to read because it keeps slipping up and down. And also, but beautiful. That record reaches peaks of beauty that are absolutely marvelous. So I am really curious to know what she thinks about it.
Well, that's so interesting, and I do have a story behind that, and that band, there's an also example of, because we all lived in Seattle, but that was never intended to be a CD. You see, that was a 5-day gig. I mean, a 5-day. Yeah, I don't even know when I did that last, 5 days in a row to have the same band playing.
Yeah.
And as I remember it, I enjoyed every minute. Gary Peacock, Granelli was on drums, and Stanley Cowell was on piano, and wasn't it? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, of course. Anyway, two things. One thing, a radio station recorded it, so that's why it ended up. But it was never
Okay.
intended to be a thing. So I had a cassette of it for a long time, and I was to be used as a demo. At that time, that was before
Yeah.
you could make CDs like that. But guess what? And this is I tell this story to students that I work with, of all levels. You know how we are so self-judgmental, and you listen to something and you go, yeah. Not that
Yeah.
I didn't like that music. I mean, obviously that was a great gig, but I kept thinking, oh no, my solos were too long, and blah, blah, blah. And so I didn't use it as a demo that much, because you have to. I thought, nah, people are not gonna. That's how dumb I was. And so I so then years later, a German Uli Blobel, who put out Vocal Summit as well, somehow he knew that, and he wanted to make a CD of it. But only to tell you, that was a great band, and that was good music. What's wrong with me? What's
And
wrong?
and I mean, have you just heard what
Yes,
this
yes.
wonderful musician said about that record? That
Oh
you
yeah.
reached peaks of beauty that are absolute
I
marvel.
mean, I think everybody enjoyed that, and everybody sounded so great. But the thing is that, you know, I, like I say, I what's wrong with me that I at that moment I've done that before with Jerry, our first duo. We both did that once. Our duo performing is, again, we just go in. Now we've been playing together, so there are going to be some sort of structured things that happen, but we don't plan it. And
Yeah.
when we decided to make it as a CD, we rejected one of the cuts, and I had to sit live and listen to it while it was converted from beta to whatever you needed to put it out as a real record. And I was just sitting there, and he started this thing, and then he stopped it, and I said, "What happened?" He said, "Oh, you're not going to put that on." And I said, "Why?" We had rejected it, but it was great. Do you know what I'm saying? And if and so we call it the forgotten song, because it was just,
Really?
it was a free input. If you have the CD, which is Sound Songs, check
Yes,
it
I
out.
have it.
Next time, just hit on forgotten song, and we had rejected it. But see, you
Oh, but
just
it's in right now.
when you record it, whatever you record, wait a while, then listen.
Yeah.
I no, that's my only thing. I don't think I'm that good with that stuff. But again, doesn't mean that later I don't like it, because wow,
Yeah, you should keep everything, absolutely.
I have stuff.
And
I have a lot of cassettes.
Abe Goldstein just
Yeah.
wrote, I heard you sing I Wish I Knew at Catano, and although I had heard the tune many times, that was the first time I really understood the lyrics, and so happy. Just a second, there's something in front of this. I can't read the rest of the. Just a second, let me shift it. Oh, okay, I can read it. I heard the tune many times. That was the first time I really understood the lyrics, and so happy to have you sing it in Des Moines.
Isn't He's great. They brought me to Iowa then. In other words, this is what is very moving for me in my life, and I have to remember that again when you start feeling sorry for yourself for whatever reason. But yeah, he and guess what, Abe? So I think of you for East of the Sun. See, they love East of the Sun. That's the two, And I owe you another one. How wonderful. But anyway, yeah, getting back to this live at Jazz Alley, it was how I'm glad that it's a CD. I mean, I don't know how many people heard it, but obviously some people are listening. And I have to say the Once Upon a Summertime into Meaning was there's a wonderful Mark. Oh shoot, I'm good. Oh God, I've just had a mental block. I'll come back to it. Mark,
Yeah,
piano player. Somebody help me in Seattle. Seals. Oh, Seal. Mark, if you're
yeah,
watching, which he probably isn't, but he's a wonderful piano player. I worked with him a lot, and he's the one that suggested that to be. I mean, I have a lot. I do this all the time. I love arranging things and stuff. But he remembered that I did both of them in B minor, and he, you know, and Once Upon a Summertime, I just thought I'd use that as the verse into it, and I still do that once in a while. I'm very moved by the both of those tunes. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So like that, there's just so much, But and so only to say, I have this time to think about all this. I've got all these little archival, I've got little boxes. One will say 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. And then I thought, this is my time. I'm going to reduce all this down. In terms of my projects, not going to happen. You see, it's not going to happen. Accept who you are. I do have to focus on certain ones at a certain time. I've got to eliminate something, but it won't be, completely eliminated. And yeah, I can't. So that's it. End of story. Like I said, let me just get down to one band, not going to happen. There's so many fantastic uh,
yeah.
artists, that work. But again, that are already in my life, Um, yeah, they are. They're all ready to play. And when are we going to play? Not for another year, right? Minimum. Correct? Not,
Well,
I
let's,
don't mean to bring a sore subject up, but think about it.
well, we all hope it's going to be sooner than that. And by the way, I have Eleonora Dettole saying hi, Jay. Carmen
Oh,
Nachi is saying hi. And Alberto Bruno is also saying hi. And then there's another question for you. Oh, and Lily Santon Weinstein, am I pronouncing it
oh
right?
yeah, Weinstein. Yeah, 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 yeah. No, no,
Because
they
you have to know the surnames to pronounce them right. I'm just
yeah.
reading them, so it could
It's
be
okay, really.
Weinstein,
Yeah.
Weinstein, I don't know. But sorry if I got it wrong. And there is another question for you. Oh, Abe Goldstein says thanks anytime, and Jackie will owe you a pie. I want a
Oh
pie too.
no, but Jackie and Abe, I'll be there
I
whenever. Yeah.
want a pie too.
Well, they know they asked me. I like pies better than cakes. So
I love pies.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, Andreas Schmidt is asking, if you want, how came 4102 together? Was there a first performance? You
Uh,
want to do a 4102 right now for all of us? Well, how can you do a
maybe.
4102? We need
Yeah.
people.
No, you and I could do a 410 too. Um,
Yes,
you know
true.
what, Andreas? It's interesting because I did that. I invented, it's a structure. I'm still doing it to this day. It
And the
with
fortune
instruments,
cookie
with
too.
it's like it's standard. Why not? It's different every time. And the question that I ask myself is why 410 2? Why not 511, blah, blah, blah? I don't remember why I said that, but the reason there's a limit to it. In other words, I could have said long tones and short tones, but that's too. If I say 410 2, that means that influences the length of the piece. It could take forever to do it, but you only get to do 410 2.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember why and when, and I can't. I think it might have been. Uh, all I remember is that 20. It's old because over 20 years. I've been back 20 years, so it must have been 20 or 25 years, whatever. I remember this. I was in D.C. and I was doing a workshop, and I mentioned 410 2, and somebody knew it. So in other words, early on, I must have done it in workshops, and then teachers do it. I think you should. But Andreas, I look forward to doing the next one with you. But again, why? It's 4:10 too, because it establishes the end of that thing. And
Yeah.
it's, the more I do it, the more flexible it becomes. Now I'm doing it, and here's another little segue, Eva, on Zoom lessons, private Zoom lessons. I wanted to say that to all of, I don't know how many singers are out there,
Well, there are
but
many singers, because there's also Pat Batstone, who is hosting this because he shared this on his profile. So a lot of folks are saying hello through me: Tiziana Guglioni, Gianna Montecat, Maria Sartori, and so on.
all those wonderful singers.
All wonderful singers, you know.
Yeah,
So,
there's so
hi,
many. And
Tiziana.
I
Hi,
just think,
Gianna. Hi, Maria.
you see how they are? I think I'm supposed to be in Italy right now, because we were going to I was trying to make a plan for May or June when this happened. I was going to I might have even made it to Austria. I was going to try to make a Milano. I was going to go to,
In fact, you remember that we were discussing it,
yes,
and
yeah, I
then
just, boom, that was the end of that.
out of the blue came the coronavirus, and all the plans just, you know.
No, it did. So, and so for many, actually, people have been doing private lessons on Skype for
Yeah.
a long time. And people would ask me, and I wasn't interested. And I still, of course, I love to play for, my privates, and I just wasn't interested. Well, now I started doing it, and I like it. I'm getting it. I'm getting it. I
So
like to,
allow me to. So
yes,
singers, you can contact Jay Clayton on her Facebook Messenger, because you can have lessons with her on Zoom or Skype or whatever. So
yes,
you can text her on Messenger if you would like to.
yeah. Just give a private message if you're interested, because I have
Yeah.
to communicate to the European students. But right now, I'm giving to people who already were studying, studying with me. I'm hesitating here because I also got a call recently, and again, you can ask me about this. And I don't have it together. Alexa, wonderful singer Alexis Cole. If you go on her Facebook page, Alexis Cole has just started an organization for teachers, and I'm going to tell her about you, Eva. You should be a part of this. It's going to be a website, and it'll have, everybody will have their page or whatever. And if somebody wants to take
Wonderful.
lessons, it goes through that site. So I thank her, and I'm sorry I'm not a little more articulate about it. I might get it together by the end to give the actual website, but you can private message me or just go to Alexis Cole on Facebook.
I already asked for her friendship on Facebook.
Yeah, so I like I say, I wish I could be, I the problem is when you grow up, the mind, part of the mind that has to do with names of things, forget about it. So that's it. And I
When you
accept that.
grow up,
Thank God when you grow up. And I'm growing up, you know. Um, I
I'm
like to
growing
say,
up too.
yeah, you see, you get out, but thank God for Google. I don't know, between Google and YouTube, I'm a happy camper.
Yeah.
And so, I always thought about that for even for, you know, eventually you're actually old age. I guess it has to be 100 because she was 91 and she's still doing all this stuff. But the point is, I always said, thank God that I hope people get onto, people put Facebook or whatever down, but when you become shut in, which we are now,
Yeah.
I mean, that's another version of it. But when you get old and you can't go out, it's, you got the web, and I so
Yeah.
appreciate it. YouTube, oh my God, no excuse. I used to always tell my students, go listen, go listen, go listen. Do you ever hear so and so do that? No excuses now.
Well, we didn't have this when we were young.
Nope.
Now they have plenty of beautiful resources.
I know. And they used to say, oh, I can't afford to buy the records. And then everybody was borrowing things and making cassettes of it and everything. And now, no excuses. You can listen. And that's really where you learn. And I always say that, I say that. Um, but anyway, back to this teaching, if anybody wants, I'm teaching a few each week, and that's fine. I have room for a few more. And I'm working on doing the workshops because I do scat lab. I call it a scat lab because for me, my philosophy is you can't really teach somebody to scat. It's not like there's so many approaches, and you could work with everyone. Everyone has a different approach. Get as many as you want. Mine's an oral approach. In other words, I get together with singers every week, and I have a repertoire of tunes that I consider uh, harmonically friendly, whatever.
Yeah.
And we work scat laboratory. You can't figure it out. You can. I mean, everybody will tell you scale over chord and all that stuff, but that's not how it ultimately happens. So if you just listen and do it, you have to practice. That's what horn players do. So I realize that singers have we have our minus ones, thank God for Ivreal Pro and Jamie Aebersold. But anyway, because of the delay, it's a little hard for a group.
But I think you found a way, didn't you?
Well, I haven't done it yet. I've been experimenting with a few singers. It's a little tricky so I'm going to start doing it with 4 or 5 people. I haven't, Jam Kazam is the one, I suppose, but it requires a lot of things, Ethernet and all this, and I'm getting it. Look at my little microphone.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
So as soon as I'm ready to try it again, it's just like us, Eva, how you put so much work into figuring this out, right?
Oh my goodness. I think yesterday the whole Facebook was fed up with my trials and errors, but we made it.
You stuck to it.
I kept erasing all the lives I was doing because I wasn't able. So many friends helped. By the way, Antonella Capo is saying hello, and Anna Gotti is saying hello too. They were listening, and well, I had many friends helping me. So I mean, much love to them. I didn't expect so much help. Everybody was trying to help me.
No, you did it. I didn't think because
that was wonderful.
I'm low tech to middle tech. I sometimes call me middle tech because I actually do this stuff. And Jerry Granelli will tell you, I mean, I've been using electronics thanks to Jerry for many years. He got me started in it years ago. I don't know what I'm doing. I do not know what I'm doing exactly. I try to explain it. Well, okay, I'll have to laugh because Jerry will say, here's how she explains it. You put the sound in here and it comes out there. It's like, but I do it. And that's what I tell anybody. It's like people will say, well, they want to take a lesson with electronics, but there isn't anything to teach. In other words, I say everybody uses different. I remember years ago, Theo Bleckman, Ursula Dujak, and I had the same jam man. It was a rack. I don't use it anymore. They don't make it anymore. I don't know if these guys have it. We each had the same rack. Independently, we had gotten it. And we use it completely different.
You know what, Jay?
Completely
I bought
different.
one. I bought one 6 years ago.
Experiment with it, but it may not be for you, but you won't know until you just do it. I don't know what I'm doing, and then I leave it for a while. I mean, maybe that's something I might do, if we're really like have to stay in another month or 2 or whatever. We probably do. People are performing online. Maybe I'll do a little me and my electronics and text. Maybe I'm saying it out loud because maybe I'll do it, because every once in a while I just get in and I do it. But but I'm just saying that.
It.
Oh, there are so many singers. They're really getting it together. The young ones are not afraid of it, and that encourages me. I'm a little judgmental about it myself, about my own thing, but I'm taking more chances. If you leave it for a while, then, which reminds me, like, we're not performing for a while, and people are like, whoa, okay, I don't know why. This is a philosophical thing, but I believe it. It means when we do it, we are growing.
Yes.
In other words,
I left it there forever. It's just lying there. I try to use it.
With our life experiences now, whatever we're going through, when the next performance is going to be, great. I mean, this is the first time I got earrings on, I mean,
You look fabulous.
Well, no, I'm not asking for that. I doubt it. But the point is, hey, I got dressed up. I even do have, slacks on. I don't have to, they say, I could have old grummy things on, but that's very different. It's a very different, but you got to go inside, and we are inside, and it can be terrible, but there's something good is going to come out of it. It's scary, but now I feel even just seeing you. That's why I do like Facebook or Zooming. People have Zooming parties they're doing. It almost feels like
we're together.
With somebody, yeah.
Yes, and you see, I'm drinking my herbal tea with you.
That's right. Here, I'll have
sitting on my sofa.
Juice. Apple cider,
Here's to everybody.
Yes.
And to Jay.
Well, it's, I appreciate your interest in this. I mean, to talk about, like 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, it takes a long time, but I just wanted to just get the bare bones of it, and I love that people are interested, and we just do it again sometime. I mean,
Of course. I think okay. We've been online for an hour and 5 minutes now.
Yes,
shall we ask our friends?
Questions? Yeah.
Yes. If there are any questions, you could post them now, and and Jay's going to try and reply. Otherwise, we will have to say hello in a short while. We've been sitting and chatting for a while. Oh, Alessandro Paiano wrote, Jay is such a great teacher and a wonderful person.
Oh, thank you.
But you will be able to read all these text messages on Facebook. When you
I see.
When you share the live. Claudio Ottaviano is saying, thank you very much, Eva, for this wonderful idea, and thanks very much to Jay. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. Oh, how wonderful. I appreciate it. I think these, like I say, I've been watching other interviews and Kathy's, and it's like very insightful. And, and if it helps.
And it's wonderful because, it's wonderful to talk with a person like you. You had amazing experiences with amazing musicians and people, and you lived through the golden age of jazz, right?
Well, yeah, I think I'm in the silver age of it, at least. Yeah,
silver.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm very lucky. How lucky to be a jazz lover in the 60s and 70s, and I mean on and on. It kept getting better, but something about being there with John Coltrane and Miles, and then watching listening to the development of stuff. I always say you learn by osmosis.
Yeah.
Just listen, and this will be to be continued. And I'm easy. I'm easy to find. I'm on on Facebook. You private message. You have a question. Of course, lessons. Yes, you can ask me. But other questions, I'm easy to find.
One question. Claudio Ottaviano, he's really following this interview with great interest. He already wrote so many times. He is curious about something. He's asking, what are your favorite ballads?
Oh, good God. Well, there's so many, I mean, and I usually do. I'm trying to think. I should look in my repertoire, but of course that Once Upon a Summertime in those, lately, oh God, I'm drawing a blank, and there's so many beautiful, speaking of which, I only do one or two in a set, usually one, because I do all those other things, and it's very, very, very hard to choose.
Yes, but maybe think about one or two that are really
like Round Midnight. Let me just tell you about Round Midnight. I don't do it hardly anymore, but Round Midnight is on both
It's
of my
wonderful.
demos, on my early demos, you know. Autumn Nocturne, You Don't Know What Love Is, Wild as the Wind, you know. They just, and the new CD, the latest new CD is called Three for the Road, but I do Two for the Road on that. That's another one. It's funny because yesterday on some interview, somebody, a piano player, I can't remember his name, brought up, of course, Nearness of You was the first one I sat in on. No, it
Yeah.
was Moonlight in Vermont. And he talked about polka dots and moonbeams. And I
Yeah.
used to sing that in early on. I guess I have to
Yeah.
revive Soul Eyes. I mean, oh God, there's in a sentimental mood. I mean,
Oh,
just
yes.
there's just
Duke Ellington.
too many. Yeah, there's too
And
many.
what about Billy Strayhorn?
Well, you know, I even when I was younger, I mean, I did Lush Life. I consider him Lush Life,
Yeah.
but I didn't do Flowers, a Lonesome Thing. I think it's beautiful, but I've never done it. There are
Mm.
actually ballads that I know that I haven't performed yet, and it'll be time when it's time, you know.
Yes.
But every gig, I have to decide what is going to be that little. They're like a jewel, you know. They're like jewels, I think, you know.
Yes.
Thanks for asking, though. I'll come back to that
Uh,
question on the next gig that I see you at in Italy.
yes. Yes, you have to come to Italy, and Claudio Ottaviano and all the wonderful people that are here and that are texting and saying thank you, and that are so grateful to you for being live, you know, and sharing
Well,
your
to
life
be
with us.
continued. To be continued. You know,
To
I
be
can.
continued.
Yeah. So we'll move on to the 70s and 80s next time. You know.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me, Eva. Ava.
Oh,
It was a great idea. It was her idea because I was saying, well, you know, I'm teaching on Zoom, but I don't know how to tell people. And she said, oh, let's do an interview.
yes.
For everything. I
Yes.
appreciate you. You know that I do. So I won't, you know, go overboard on it, but I do appreciate you as a singer. Of course, you're a singer and you do all the organization too. So I understand that. So I look forward to your next gig. You know, in
Mine.
Italy. Yes.
Oh
Yes.
my God, I'm not a singer anymore. I haven't been singing for ages now.
Well, yes, you are. And the next time I come to Italy, when I get a gig there, you know, we'll figure a time where you'll have one, or we'll do something. Yeah. No, don't never say never, and never give up.
I
I'm
know
t-
I
I
was
tell
joking a little
myself
bit, but
every day, no, you make it up. If you want to, you make up a gig. Say I want a gig. You whatever you focus on, it does become real. I know people have
yes,
said that,
I know. I know. It
but
happened to me so many times.
so you don't know
Oh,
because you don't focus. We don't always focus, but once we
yeah.
go, here's where I'll end up. This is what I have on my desk. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see this?
Can you? Yes. Wisdom is knowing what to do. I'm missing the last part. Raise it up a little bit. Raise it up a little bit. I can't read the last. Okay, wisdom is knowing what to do next.
That's it. That's all you have to do. Like maybe I'm going to go eat next. I don't know. But that's so true in the music. So you
Yes.
don't know. When in doubt, you just stop everything and it'll come to you. Okay, well that's it. That's my last philosophical. But I
Okay,
love
you
everybody
you
that came
ended
in.
your interview with something beautiful for all of us, you know, wisdom about wisdom.
Well,
So
that's I'm trying to follow that. Know what to do next. But thank you so much again, and thanks to everybody. I'll
thank
see
you,
you soon.
Jay.
Okay.
Thank you, and thank you to all our friends who were with us. Goodbye, and we're gonna organize something soon.
To be continued. That's what I was to be
Yes, to be continued. Bye.
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 I'm going to leave the studio.
There we are.